Revolutionary Love again, and we are back. We are back. We're just going to get right on into it, and I'm just going to teach from my PowerPoint. You won't be able to see it, but hopefully you'll still be able to take your notes and whatnot, right? So let me make sure. Let me get a comment or something from someone on the site to make sure that everything is good before we get started. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. All right. Boom. Okay. We are back again. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So, uh-oh. I need me an assistant. Yeah, I need an assistant. All right. We are back. Okay. I got my taco meat hanging out and all that kind of stuff. All right. All right. So good. So hopefully some of you just refresh your page and we should be good. All right. So I'm going to jump right on into it. Hopefully we got some viewers out there checking this out. So number one, when you're starting your homeschooling piece, right, your journey, you want to create a vision, right? You want to ask yourself, why am I homeschooling? Why am I doing this? So many of us come from different places in terms of why we're homeschooling. Some of us are homeschooling because we just don't like the public school system. We don't think, the European, our enemy, can educate our children in the way that they need to be educated. Some of us are coming from a place of trauma within the school system, things that have happened to our children. So you know what, we got to do it ourselves. Some of us are coming from a place of bullying and those kind of things, right? Some of us are coming from a place of saying, look, we just want our children to be better educated, and we can do that better at home, right? So we want to ask ourselves again, why? But there's some benefits. So we can talk about the advantages of spiritual advantages in terms of homeschooling our children, right? We know that in the public school system, the folks, they don't really talk about spirituality, right? It's supposed to be a separation of church and state and all that kind of stuff. But we understand as African people that African spirituality is a vital part of our life. So we must have that as a part of our homeschooling endeavor. So that's a great reason to homeschool our children, to make sure that our spirituality, whatever that might be, can be an essential part of our homeschooling journey, right? We also have character. Character building is of the utmost importance, right? Character building is listen, the person you help your child to become is much more important than the math you help them learn or the reading that you help them do, right? Because we have so many folks who are really intelligent, so-called intelligent in the European sense, but they have no love for their African brothers and sisters, and they don't have the kind of character or moral standards that we believe our warrior scholars should have. So homeschooling our children can definitely be an advantage in making sure they get the kind of character building that they need. All right. Another advantage of homeschooling is, of course, academic. Many times when a child is homeschooled for a number of years, they're usually 2 to 3 grades above their public school system and private school system counterparts. So that can definitely help, because our children, sometimes they need that one-on-one. And if you have 25 students in a classroom with a teacher, you know that it's not usually feasible to be able to meet all the needs of the children that you have around you, right? So that's why we got to create a vision. We got to create a vision for what we are doing, and also create a mission statement. Like, what's the mission statement for you? What's the mission statement for your family? What's the mission statement for your homeschooling endeavor? So for me and my family, and particularly Leeway Camara, my daughter, my mission statement is that we will act as if we answer to and only answer to our ancestors, our children, and those who are yet unborn, right? So we add the creator, our ancestors, and the children who are yet unborn. That's who we answer to. right? That's our mission statement. So in anything that we do, we're thinking about that, right? We're saying, okay, is this good for, the folks who are yet to come? Is this good for our children, those seeds that already reside within us? Is this good? Would our ancestors be proud? Would our Creator be proud of us in doing whatever we're doing, right? So you have to come up with a model. You have to come up with a mission statement, a vision for what you want your homeschool to be about, what you want your family to be about. A great book that I get the idea of a family mission statement from is the Sankofa Movement by Baba Ajiakoto and Nana Akoto. Very good book. I wish I could put my hand on it at this moment, but very, very good book. The Sankofa Movement, and tells us the benefit of having a mission statement, not only for our family, our schools, but even our relationships. A lot of times we're in relationships and we don't. What's the vision? What's the purpose of the relationship? So to continue, creating a vision for the way you want your homeschooling to run, Dr. Amos Wilson, one of my favorite teachers, he asks us this question. He says, really, what kind of Africans do we need to create in order to solve the kind of problems we have as an African people? That is a great place to start when we're talking about creating a vision for our homeschooling journey, right? What kind of people do we need them to be? We need them to be folks, of course, who know mathematics well, who can speak well, who can write well, who can think critically, right? But also who has a serious sense of pride in who they are and a serious knowledge of self, and also a character that'll go along with that to bring our people to the next level, right? So those are the kind of Africans we need. So that's the kind of vision we must have. And we must keep that vision in mind whenever we're making decisions about our homeschooling, right? So when we're making decisions about curriculum, we're thinking about, is this going to make our children the kind of African we need them to be? When we're thinking about field trips, is this going to make our children the kind of Africans we need them to be? Anything that we think about is, when we're about to feed them, is this going to make our children the kind of Africans they need to be so we can solve the kind of problems that we have? So that question, what kind of Africans do we need to solve the kind of problems we have, is a powerful question that comes from Dr. Amos Wilson, and I think will lead us very well while we're creating our vision for our homeschooling. So that's number one, create a vision, right? So number two, you're going to choose your curriculum, right? Choose your curriculum. And I would say definitely do not fall back on some Common Core stuff. We need an African core for our children. Right? We don't need standardization. We need Africanization. We don't need a Eurocentric curriculum. We need, of course, an African-centered curriculum, right? That's what we need for our children. So when you're choosing a curriculum, don't just go with the white folks that have the most money to put their curriculum out there, right? A lot of times when we begin this journey, we've only gone to European schools, most of us, Eurocentric schools. So we fall back on the faulty knowledge or the miseducation that we've gotten from them and say, okay, that's what I should be doing as well. But reality is we should not be recreating the public school system within our home. We should be delving into who we are as a people, right? And having that as our center, our core, and everything else we branch out from there. I got to talk with my hands, right? We got to choose a curriculum that provides us with the kind of roadmap that lead our children again to an education for liberation, and not the education for subordination that they get so often in the public food system and the private food system, right? And curriculum, the word curriculum comes from the Latin that means a roadway, like it's a course, right? And so we have to begin with the end in mind and see, okay, this is where I want my child to be. This is the kind of African I want my child to be. So in choosing a curriculum, we want to make sure that curriculum is going to lead them down that path and get them to the goal that we have for them, and as well they have for themselves, right? And also, please be mindful that when you are choosing a curriculum that was created by someone else, you are choosing to prioritize the things that they prioritize. So if you're choosing a European curriculum and they prioritize, talking about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and all these folks as great leaders, and capitalism as being the way that we need to go in our world, and talking about, and bigging up their terrorists, right? Then that's what you're going to get in the curriculum, right? And so remember that. So if you let's say if you look at our curriculum, I wouldn't just say definitely use our curriculum. I would say, look at our curriculum, check it out, and see if the ideas and the precepts and the priorities that we place in our curriculum is in line with your priorities you have for your children. And if they are, I would say, yes, definitely use our curriculum. If not, I say you have the wherewithal and ability to create your own curriculum for your own child. And that would be a beautiful thing as well. So number one, we got to create a vision and a mission statement for what we are trying to do on this homeschooling journey, so that can be our basis, our foundation for all the decisions that we make along the way. Because there'll be a lot of decisions that you have to make, right? And if you have a solid vision, and our vision is that, look, we're going to teach our children for education, for liberation, then whatever curriculum you choose will be based on that particular vision and model. All right. Also, choose your curriculum, choose them wisely. There's a lot of ideas out there, a lot of curriculums out there. I mean, you have the Montessori, you have so-called classical curriculum, you have a whole bunch of curriculums out there, right? Be wary of choosing somebody else's curriculum, because again, they might prioritize some things that you don't want to deal with, right? So let's move on. All right. Continue with the choosing the curriculum. It doesn't matter what curriculum you choose. The reality is you are the curriculum as the parent. You are the curriculum. I wrote a blog post on KamaliAcademy.com a couple months ago, and it talks about the hidden curriculum or the covert curriculum that our children are learning from every day, because they're learning from us, right? And so that hidden curriculum comes into play when we talk about, how does our children see us interact with other people? You know, how do they see us speak with other people? How do they see us? Do they see us gossiping about other folks? Because that's teaching them something, right? Do they see us complaining about things without ever finding ourselves in a position to do something about them? You know, one of the worst things I see, and with many families, unfortunately, is that you have a parent who will talk crazy and talk real bad about the public school system in front of their children, and then send their children right back to that school system the next day. And I'm sure our children are learning, like, look, mom, if it's so bad, why do you keep sending me back? Look, daddy, you know, if it's so bad, why do you keep sending me back? Even if they don't say it out loud, right? So that hidden curriculum is very important, you know. So how do you deal with mistakes and failure, right? Do you pout? Do you really get upset? Or do you take those things and say, look, this was a learning experience, and now I know more than I knew before. Let's keep rolling, because they're learning about those things from us, because you are the curriculum, right? Are you content with just being an employee for somebody else? I mean, in our curriculum, we definitely prioritize entrepreneurship for African people in general, but also for our young warriors. We don't feel like you should have to wait. You know, I mean, when you know how to count, you know, say go ahead on and start that business, right? And so, but the question is, are you the kind of person that seems to be okay with being an employee? Because you can't really say, I want you to start your own business. I want you to start your own business, and to your children, to your young warriors, and you haven't found yourself in a position to do it yourself, right? I mean, it's certainly a difficult thing, but many things are difficult until you start doing it, right? So just make sure you understand that hidden curriculum, because you are the curriculum, all right? Also, don't be a person who complains about darkness. Be a person who lights the candle, and our children will see those things in us as they walk through this world, right? So again, create your vision statement, your mission statement, number one. Number two, choose your curriculum. And remember, people will prioritize things that you might not prioritize, right? So think about that when you're choosing a curriculum. Also remember your vision when you're choosing a curriculum. And remember also that you are the curriculum. So it really doesn't matter what you choose. Your children will be watching you. Let's move on. Let's move on next to state laws, right? So many, let me give you a disclaimer first and foremost about state laws. If they had a state law that said, or a national law that said that Black people couldn't homeschool their children, I would not obey that law. I can care less about their laws and what they tell me that I can and cannot do with my children. That's a disclaimer. I just want you to know. So, you know, with that being said, you different states have different laws about how you can go about homeschooling. In some states, the homeschool really exists as a private school. Some states, they don't really have an overview of what to of what you can do and cannot do. Some states, they just say, just send us a letter telling us that you are homeschooling your children. The place to go to get more information about the homeschooling laws in your state is to go to a website called hslda.org. Let me say it again, hslda.org. And I think it's Homeschooling Legal Defense Association. Homeschooling Legal Defense Association. Again, hslda.org, right? And you can go on there, search for the laws, and go to your state, and they'll tell you exactly. Or you can just go to Google and put in your state homeschool laws, and it'll show you everything you need to know about that. And again, I don't care what their laws say. I'm not sending my children back to the public food system, and I'm going to do for my children what they need to, what needs to be done for them, and that's an education for liberation. All right, let's move on here. And here's the idea that many people, I've been talking to many people about over the last couple of months during the summer, because they're thinking about homeschooling. And that idea is detox or deschooling. Many people, when you are taking your child out of the public food system, people say, yeah, he doesn't like reading. She just doesn't love learning anymore. Sometimes we have to do a detox of our children. We have to give them a break. When we're saying, okay, now we're going to homeschool, it might not be feasible to just jump into so-called academic work as soon as you stop them from going to the public food system or private food system, right? Sometimes they need a period, a time after institutionalized schooling, where they can just fall back and just chill for a minute, so that they can begin to rediscover the love of learning that they probably lost in the school system, right? And now during this time, they might not just be chilling or lounging around the house or playing video games all day, but you want to tap into their interests, find out what they like to do, what they like to learn about, what they want to read about, right? And have them read those things. It doesn't have to be a situation where you have them read a book and you want a 5-page book report, right after it. Nah, just chill, right? Allow your child to get reacclimated to the kind of environment that will be more conducive to their learning, right? And so, like I said, tap into their interests, allow them to lead, allow them to tell you what they want to learn about. Now, the crazy thing is, though, many times our children will not know what they're interested in, because it's been so long they've been told what to learn, when to learn it, how to learn it, when to regurgitate it, right? So sometimes, we got to be patient with them on that as well. And we know our children. So maybe if they don't know, we can tell them, all right, I see that you like cars, right? So let's learn some more about cars, right? And let me know what you learned about those cars. It can be many different things, but allow them to lead, and just to get back right. I mean, a person come home from jail after a while, they gotta take a little time to detox and get back to the kind of mindset that is for a free man or a free woman, right? Okay. I think a lot of times also, though, we as the parents have to be detoxed or deschooled in terms of those toxic ideas that we have gotten, right? We've gone to the public food system and, look, well, sit down and you got to do this and you got to do this right now. And you're going to get an A, you're going to get a B, or if you don't get an A, then we're going to, and all this kind of stuff. So sometimes we need to go ahead on detox, and we can use the time when our children are detoxing to really search for that curriculum, search for the right curriculum that will be good for our children. Do the kind of stuff that you're doing right now. Watch videos on how to get started with this homeschooling journey, right? Looking at the state laws, researching different things. So researching field trips that you and your children can take when we start homeschooling, so-called officially, right? Use that time for those kind of things, and not bother them so much when they just come home from jail. That's because that's what it is. A classroom to prison pipeline. We know what's going on across the country, right? Okay. So again, allow them to just do what they do. Here's some advantages, right? Again, it gives you time to explore and plan. It also gives your child the ability to take back over their education. Our children go to school wanting to learn, wanting to imbibe as much information as possible. But we know by the time they get to third grade or fourth grade, that spark of interest is gone out of their eyes, right? So we have to try to bring that back to them. Okay. All right. Also, like I said, give them time to de-stress from the unpleasant things like testing. Like sometimes our children, you maybe you don't need to give them another standardized test. Now, in order to go to college and all that kind of stuff, maybe I have to take the ACT or the SAT. But in our own homeschooling environments, maybe the standardized test is just, it's not a good look, right? Because our children are not numbers. Should there be tests? Absolutely. And if you take our the Warrior Teacher course at thewarriorteacher.com, I go into a great deal about the science of learning and how to help one retain information. And in order to retain information, it's frequent testing. It's not just that one test at the end that says, this is what you know. And if you didn't know it at this point, then you're going to jail. You know what I'm saying? But it's a kind of, okay, now we're going to review it again on Wednesday. We might review it again on next Monday. Might review it again, along with the new information. We're also continuing to talk about the old information that we've gotten so that it can stave off the forgetting of the information that we've already learned, right? So again, detox, allow them to de-school, right? So again, we got to create the vision, choose your curriculum, and remember that you are the curriculum, check out your state laws, and allow your child time to unwind, to de-school, to detox from the toxic ideas that they have in the public food system. Let's move on. All right. So one of the things also that I find is very important in terms of starting your homeschool journey is to get to know your child. Sometimes, I mean, it's kind of hard to get to know your child when, home has become a place for breakfast before they go to school and a place to eat dinner and maybe do some homework after school and then they go to sleep, right? Our homes have become that because other people have taken on the role of parent. For those 8 hours or 9 hours, our children are going away from us, right? So in starting your homeschool journey, it's going to take some time for you to get to know your child. And I think one of the ways to get to know our children is to use the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. White boy wrote a book. I mean, you got 5 love languages for couples, 5 love languages for married folks, 5 love languages for children, for singles, for men, for women, all that kind of stuff, right? But I think all of them are the same 5 love languages. And the 5 love languages are physical touch, words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, and acts of service, right? I'll say it again if you didn't get it. Physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, and acts of service, right? So just get into these 5 love languages, right? So physical touch, right? Your child might really love for you to touch them more, to hug, to be kind of, what do you call it, touchy feely, right? And so the beauty of learning these 5 love languages is that we must learn how to love our children the way they need to be loved, because every child is not, of course we know that, every child is different, and every person is different. We can't love them the way we want them to be loved. We can't say, look, I want to give you gifts and I want you to be fine with those gifts. That's the reward. No, some of our children say, look, just give me a hug. My mom is not very touchy-feely at all, but I am. So I always mess with her, but some of our children, they need to be physically touched. That might be their reward, right? Also, words of affirmation. Words of affirmation is, I think a lot of us need those words of affirmation. And those words of affirmation can just be a simple good job, right? But not always so general. But I think you did a very good job of sticking with that problem, even though you were having trouble at the beginning. I see that as being a great warrior skill that you're developing, right? And in terms of praising, words of affirmation is about praising. But in terms of praising, we must praise our children for their effort, not their innate genius. And I know it's kind of a cliche, right? And folks, we always say, man, we come from kings and queens, you're a genius and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, and if you look at the work of Carol Dweck, and Dweck is Dweck, last name, right? Her work on called Mindset, right? She talks about how praising our children for their innate genius actually harms them more than it helps them. So that if you're calling me a genius all the time, they was like, man, you're a genius. Then when I get to something I don't know, am I going to try to really, really learn it? Or am I going to just say, am I just going to shy away from it and say, look, well, I'm not even going to worry about that. Right? I'm not even going to do the hard puzzle. I'm just going to do the easy puzzles, so that you will still call me what? A genius, right? So, but when we praise our children on their effort, then they know that with effort and time and focus and determination, anything is possible. So there's a difference. There's the fixed mindset that says that I'm a genius and that's just what it is. It's just naturally in my genes. I ain't got to work hard. There's also the growth mindset that says that, yeah, I might be smart, but I can be smarter or more intelligent if I continue to work. And this mindset, the growth mindset, says that your brain is a muscle that can continue to grow. The fixed mindset says whatever you got it. If you ain't got it, if it's too hard for you, then you just don't know it. You're not going to be able to know it. And we don't want to tell our children those things, right? We want to give them the words of affirmation that whatever they put their mind to, if they work hard, they can achieve it. As a people, we must understand that as well. Especially if we say we come from kings and queens, especially if we say we know that the African people were the first people on the globe, and we gave mathematics and science to the world and language with the Metu Neter and all that kind of stuff. If our ancestors were geniuses, then we should be as well. But also our ancestors worked hard to get to those things. Thousands and thousands upon thousands of years of studying the thing. You think the Dogon just woke up in the morning and was just able to see Sirius B? I don't know about that. Right? They had to work hard, and we must make sure that our children work hard. So when we praise them for their hard work and their persistence. All right, so that's words of affirmation. Another way to praise our children with words of affirmation, if that's their love language, is to give them an accomplishment intro when they're out and about. So let's say you're homeschooling your child and y'all go to the supermarket, right, to make groceries. Maybe have a little math lesson going on there, maybe even science at the grocery store, right? And you see someone and they say, hey, how you doing? Are you homeschooling? You say, yes, I'm homeschooling. This is my son, Kamali. And what you want to do is you want to give them an introduction to your child that makes your child smile. You say, this is Kamal, this young brother. I mean, he's read 8 books already, and we're only 2 months into the school year. He can do the Rubik's Cube in 30 seconds. And he's just working really hard on learning Tree and Swahili. He's doing a beautiful job of me homeschooling. This is Kamal. Say hi, Kamal. Right? And so, like, I learned this idea, from a friend of mine, brother Amari. Call him Amari Rebel. He's an internationally known guitar player and band leader. But when we met in Austin, when we was finishing up our PhDs, whenever he would introduce me, man, he would make me feel like I was the baddest dude on the planet, And so it just definitely made me feel good, and we want to make our children feel good. Too often, somebody else might say something good about our child. We say, oh, he's so bad. He ain't, no. Make sure that they know that you believe in them and that you see them, you see them in highly, I guess. I don't know what I want to say. You believe in them, okay? So yes, accomplishment intro. Make sure your child knows that you respect them, that you believe in them, and not only sometimes we give our children compliments when they're not around. Right. So sometimes we'll say, he's not here, but he's doing so good in this, and he does it so good in that. But when he's there, we too hard and we trying to push. But sometimes you just got to let him know, like, look, you're doing a great job. And I really see the growth that you're making. right? So also we want to talk about quality time. Some of our children just need quality time. So if you're working a lot, your child might be acting out. That might be their love language, right? You can go on the website for 5 love languages, and your child can take a little quiz. You can take a little quiz yourself. It might help you with your relationships with your complementary partner as well. And so quality time. Sometimes our children don't need gifts, right? They don't need the words. They just want you to be there next to them. And I know with all the technology that we have, sometimes we have that phone in our face like this. Let me show you. This is how we be, like this all day. You know what I'm saying? Or here's my phone. Or we have, on a computer, and we just, doing what we do and not really paying attention, to our children. Right. So, and sometimes our children can be hurt by that. So we have to know what their love language is and give them that quality time. Right. And make sure that we do things with them. If it's just going out to the park, if it's just going to throw a football, if it's just, blowing up a little pool, putting some water in and letting them swim, whatever it is, they just maybe just need us to be there for them and with them. Another thing is gifts, right? Some of our children, they need gifts. Some of them, and some of us, some of us believe that every kiss begins with K. Say if you like it, you should have put a ring on it, right? So anyway, some of our children, they like gifts as well. And so it might be something small. It might just be something that you can hand make yourself, or it might be something that you can just buy from the store that you just thought about them and say, I thought you would like this, right? And so those kind of things can help us have a better relationship with our children, really understanding what their love language is. The last one is acts of service, right? Acts of service. So maybe our children are the kind of young warriors who like it when we help them with the chores, or we help, of course, help them with their homework, or we drive them to basketball practice or football practice, and we get them there on time, and we pick them up on time, and we seem to care about, what their passions are, right? And I know a lot of people who I grew up with, sometimes we had to walk to practice because moms just was doing something else, or we didn't have a ride, from practice, so we would have to wait, a long time. Those kind of things weigh heavy on children if we know that is their love language, right? So find out what your child's love language is, whether it be physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, or gifts. I think it's a good thing to get to know your young warrior, because a lot of times we don't know them if they've been in the public school system for a long time, right? And so for folks who don't have their children in the public school system and you've been homeschooling already, then you probably already know these things, all right? And if not, we can always learn something new, right? Let's move on. How to win with your warrior. How to win with our warrior. I know this might not sound like the kind of technical stuff that you maybe wanted to know in terms of beginning your homeschool journey, but these things are very important, because if we don't develop a good relationship with our children, then that homeschool journey is going to be hell, right? It's going to be hell. And so a lot of times people say, I don't have enough patience. Then you're saying you don't have enough whatever you need to be a parent. So you're going to be a parent. You are, right? And to take on the homeschooling journey is certainly not an easy task, but it can be done, and you can do it, right? And in doing that, let's make sure we develop a good relationship with our children, because people don't learn very much from people they don't like. And I'm not saying to be your child's friend, but in terms of people who respect them, right? Who listens to them, who attempts to understand them. So let's at least make those kinds of strides with our young warriors, right? Winning with our young warrior. I'm gonna go through this pretty fast. I got a number of slides on how to win with our young warriors. So number one, we got to have good character and integrity. We got to live up to our own ideals. We have to keep our promises, right? And so many times, we overpromise and underdeliver. But there's a statement in business that says that maybe we should underpromise and overdeliver when it comes to the things that we do, right? Nourish them, nurture your seeds, encourage them to grow, right? Respect and recognize them. Another thing that we need to do is, of course, have Imani, in them. Have faith in them. Even before they succeed, have faith that they will succeed. Too often, we don't praise or we don't acknowledge our children until they've actually finished whatever we wanted them to finish, right? And sometimes that can be heavy on a child because like your love is almost conditional. So if I didn't finish it, if I didn't do good, you don't love me anymore, you know? So we got to make sure that we always have faith in them, always believe that they will do well, and also put them in a kind of environment that'll make sure that they do well, right? Continuing, set expectations, right? Set expectations and emphasize their strengths. So many times, you know, we talk about the weaknesses that our children have. You know, we sometimes and we get really frustrated, but we got to look at what they're strong at as well. You know, what do they do well? You know, look at your quota. How often do you say something negative as opposed to how often do you say something positive to your young warrior? That right there, if we can just be more conscious of that, that might change our whole relationship dynamic with our children. We should have, I don't know, I'm gonna just put it, we should have 5 times as much positive things to say than negative. You know, and I'm sure that'll be tough when they ain't cleaning their room like you said, you know what I'm saying, for the 57th time. You know, but try to find those things that they do well and big them up on that, praise them on those things. And maybe they'll do those other things a lot more, right? So to continue, starting your homeschooling journey, maybe write a letter to your child telling them how much you believe in them, right? How much you love them. So they'll know. So you'll just have that, right? As you begin your journey, because of course the road is going to get rocky. Sometimes you're not going to see eye to eye, but again, you want to make sure that you still have faith in them and praise them, you know, no matter what, right? You want them to work hard. You're going to challenge them, yes, but still make sure that you're praising or looking at their strong suits more than the negative, right? Keeping moving, listen to them, right? It shows respect. It shows that you respect their knowledge. It shows and it builds loyalty, right? You want somebody to be loyal. You want someone to do what you say. All right. Listen to them. Bring them in on a conversation. And so one of the things that is beautiful about the homeschooling journey is that you can ask your child, what do you want to learn about? You know, and actually go and learn about that and learn with them if you don't know nothing about it. So one of the things is you have to understand that you don't have to know everything if you are just beginning homeschooling. You would never know anything anyway. You'd never have to know anything. You know, you just have to be in a position to make sure that your children get the kind of coaching, get the kind of resources that they need to be able to grow. You are not a sage on stage saying, learn this and do this, but you are a guide on the side saying, yes, that's good. Wow, I didn't know that. Let's learn that together. That's the way we want to be in terms of our children. And again, if you don't know math, you might know somebody else that knows some math. But there's a lot of videos online that can help you learn math. And we got a mental math class also at KamaliAcademy.com. But there's a lot of resources out there that can help you. You know, if you're not good at science, it's fine. There's a lot of resources that'll help you teach science, right? And you can also, again, learn it yourself. Don't ever say it in front of your children, please. That, oh, I'm not a math person. Oh, I was never good at English. We don't care. You know, they don't care. If you don't know it, if you didn't do well then, that's probably because of the school system you were in and you didn't get the foundation that you needed, right? Don't say it in front of them. Build it. Build those skills just like you're asking them to build their skills, right? And sometimes our children will feel like what you're asking them to do is really hard, is almost impossible, right? And so you have to be willing to show them that you are willing to kind of to take those risks as well and put yourself out there to learn something that you don't know. I learned how to do the ripstick. I don't know if you know what the ripstick is. Like there's 2 wheels like a skateboard, but they go back and forth like that. I realized, I said, I'm asking these children to do, these young warriors to do things that they might deem impossible, right? And I'm asking them just to stick with it because if you stick with it, you'll get it. I said, okay, what's one thing I don't know how to do? I never rode a skateboard, never rode a ripstick. I said, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do the ripstick. I'm going to show y'all that I'm going to learn how to do the ripstick. I'm sure they got some pictures and some videos out there of me actually doing the ripstick. And it didn't take very long at all. Actually, it took really a couple days. but it took a couple of days of falling. It took a couple of days of getting back up. It took a couple of days of being okay with looking stupid and looking foolish. You know, it took a couple of days of just really trying. Just saying, like, I'm not going to stop until I get it. And so sometimes we have to demonstrate that for our young children so that they can get the message. All right, let me move on, man. I got a lot of stuff going on here. Here's 3 questions that we should ask, right? And this, I guess, is like some Indian sage or something who asked it the first time. But it's what's the most important time? Who's the most important person? And what's the most important thing to do? I'll say it again. What's the most important time? Who is the most important person? And what is the most important thing to do? Right? Think about that for a second. What's the most important time? Who is the most important person? And what is the most important thing to do? So the sage, the wise one, said that the most important time is now. Right? A lot of times we live in the past, or we're thinking about, okay, what are we going to do in the future? But where we want our children to go in the future, right? A lot of times. But he says that the most important time is right now, because that's all you really have. Tomorrow never really comes, right? So be mindful of that when you're dealing with your children, right? Think about right now. That's all you got. Who's the most important person? The person you are with. And so that can be your child. If you're with your child, make sure you're giving your attention to your child and not always with the Negro technology in front of your face or the computer and all that kind of stuff. But if you're by yourself, you're the most important person that you're with at that moment. Be mindful of that, right? And last thing is, what's the most important thing to do? And the sage would say, care, right? So sometimes, the children might do something and you're like, look, man, this is crazy. Sometimes we just got to care. Sometimes we just got to love, right? I don't know. I ain't talking about no Europeans and all that kind of stuff and all of the stuff that they've done to us. I ain't talking about them. What I'm talking about is our own children and ourselves. Sometimes the most important thing to do for ourselves is to care. It's to love ourselves. So many people have asked me about how do you deal with doubt? How do you deal with the fact that, I don't think maybe I'm not adequate enough to teach my children? There's always going to be doubt, right? We have to understand that that's going to be there. There's teachers with PhDs like myself that have doubt sometimes about maybe, I don't know if I can teach this owl story as good as, some other folks, whatever, right? There's always going to be doubt, but you still have to push through it, right? Because you are enough, right? You are the first teacher of your children. Nobody gave you a license to do that, and you don't need a license to do that, right? How many people are teaching our children in the school system and they so-called certified and they're not doing a very good job of it? You can do it. You will do it, right? There's resources out there to help you as well, but that doubt is never going to go away. But you must get into a place of saying, if I don't know, I can learn. And I don't have to know everything. And again, you won't know everything. The man who knows anything knows that he knows nothing at all. Same thing with the woman, right? If you don't, the more and more I learn, the more and more I read. I read over 100 books a year in terms of whether it be a PDF, whether it be a physical book or an audio book. And the more and more I learn, I'll be like, damn, and they got so much more. But I love learning. And my students, the best times I've had with my students is when I learn with them. Or when I came in, I said, yo, I got a new technique. That I just learned, a mental math technique. Check this out. And the students will be like, you just learned it 5 minutes ago, huh? And I was like, yep, I just learned it 5 minutes ago. But y'all gonna like this one, And so it's a beautiful thing to learn with your children. You're gonna have doubts, but you can push through it. Let's move on. All right. Wow, I still got some cool winning with your warriors. Very, very important. Very important. Let's move on to location, right? Where do we homeschool? I say the world is our classroom. Homeschool wherever you want to homeschool, right? Kamali Academy, we started at a kitchen table, right? And a living room. And then, we went to the grocery store. We went to the park. We went to the bookstore. Learn wherever you feel comfortable. It doesn't have to be a set location, right? One of the worst things about the public food system and the private food system is that they keep our children so immobilized for 8 hours. And sometimes they take away recess when the standardized test is coming around, right? So definitely get out into the world, do something. In traditional African societies, you got the baobab tree. You got the tree out there. We're gonna learn around that. You got the garden. You got the wilderness. you have the compound or the community. That's where we learn, right? Many children, they learn from their elders, from their parents, right? They rode on the backs of their parents while they went to work, right? Or they were right there by their side while they went to work. Observation and participation is the way they learned. Being in the classroom, having someone lecture to you is one of the worst ways to learn anything, right? And so again, when our children are doing the thing, then they learn a lot better. So get out there in the world. I mean, geometry literally means to measure the world. So if you're going to do geometry class probably should be outdoors, and you find those shapes, those rectangles and those triangles and those different things in the world, and measure them to learn those concepts, learn the degrees of those angles and all that kind of stuff. Out there in the world, they will learn it a lot better, right? And I'm not really a big fan of learning styles, because I mean, if I'm a kinesthetic learner, okay, does that mean I can't learn from reading a book? No, I can still learn from reading a book, but it just depends on what I'm learning by reading a book. I don't want to learn basketball reading a book. I want to go and be kinesthetic and play basketball to learn how to play basketball. So it just depends on what the subject is in terms of which ways you should teach it. So in science, there should be a lot of hands-on in science, not just reading a science book. But if you're talking about poetry, you don't want to, you're not just going to go and perform poetry to begin. You're going to study poetry to begin. You understand? So let's move on. I'm sure you guys have questions, and I'll definitely get to those. All right. Homeschooling multiple ages. Many people have had a lot of questions about homeschooling multiple ages. And I say to folks, every subject has a PhD and a kindergarten level, right? And so if you're homeschooling, and say you got an 8th grader and a 2nd grader, right? The basic principle is teach them math and reading on their own level. Everything else they can learn together. Again, teach math and reading on their own level. Everything else they can learn together. So because math and reading and phonics and all that kind of stuff are so sequential. I mean, you got to have these foundational blocks before you can get to these other things. You definitely want them to learn those things in a sequence that is best for them to learn them, right? But for our story, if everybody is talking about, for our story, let's say the 2nd graders learn about Marcus Garvey. The 8th grader is going to learn about Marcus Garvey also, because I'm not going to be, as a homeschooler, I'm not going to be dealing with, okay, you learn about Marcus Garvey, but then you're learning about the U.S. Constitution and the Revolutionary War. That's a lot of work there, right? So bring it together. So say, all right, you learn about Marcus Garvey as a 2nd grader. You're gonna learn about Marcus Garvey. You're gonna learn about the Black Star Line. You might even create a little ship. You know what I'm saying? A little hands-on thing there. You're gonna maybe listen to a couple of his speeches. You're gonna learn the basic philosophy of Marcus Garvey, where he was from, his birthday, and all that kind of stuff. But then the 8th grader is gonna maybe do all those things and more. Maybe the 8th grader writes a letter to Marcus Garvey, right, saying, I want to be a part of your UNIA, your Universal Negro Improvement Association. These are the skills I have. This is what I can do. This is what I know you are doing. This is where I can fit in, right? Maybe he, memorizes some Marcus Garvey quotes. Maybe he is charged with going to the first 5 people he see at the park and letting them know who Marcus Garvey was, and about the flag that he gave our people, and just some of his essential philosophies, right? So there's just be a little bit more that the 8th grader does than the 2nd grader does, right? But you keep them on the same topic. Same thing with science. So if we learn about the stars for the 8th grader, the 2nd graders learn about the stars too, just on their level, right? And so again, math and reading on their own level, right? They're their own independent books. So like we have math books and those kind of things at store.kamaliacademy.com for your addition and subtraction and multiplication, advanced multiplication, division, and all that kind of stuff. We also have grammar books for the lower elementary grades, as well as the middle school and high school grades. And so they'll learn those things on their own level, but then everything else we learn together. And just like African dance, you have the little ones with the older ones, right? But the little ones are on one line and they're doing one move, and the older ones and more advanced ones, they're doing a couple more moves, right? But the little ones still get to see the whole product, the whole dance coming together, as well as the older ones, right? Hopefully That makes sense. So it shouldn't be too big of a deal to teach multiple ages at one time. You just don't want to be running yourself ragged. Again, math and science on their own, math and reading on their own level, and everything else, they can learn together, right? Also, allow the older warriors to teach the younger warriors, right? The older warriors, when they teach the younger warriors, they are developing their skills, right? They're continuing to develop their knowledge about a certain thing. But also the younger warriors are looking up to them, right? They're looking up to the older warriors and like, man, I want to be able to do what he's doing or what she's doing. And so they might push themselves harder to get to an older level, a higher level more quickly because they have the older warriors there with them. Also, the older warriors develop some sympathy, right? And they might understand your plight a little bit better with them when they start to try to teach their younger brother or sister, and that they giving them fits. So they say, Mom, Baba, I see how you might feel when I'm doing certain things when I'm teaching, right? So it teaches them some sympathy, and I'll also teach them how to be empathetic to their younger brothers and sisters or the younger warriors. So definitely allow them to help you if you're teaching multiple ages. Also, make sure you have time in your schedule to have that one-on-one time with each child. So while the 8th grader or the 11th grader might be doing something that he can do independently, you're working hands-on with the 2nd grader or 3rd grader, right? And then when the 3rd grader, 2nd grader is doing something independently, it might be coloring. Now that gives you time to kind of stand next to the 11th grader or the 8th grader to make sure that they don't have any questions about something that they need help with, all right? Moving on. Socialization. We're almost done. We're almost done here. Socialization. Socialization is a big topic, right? So the first thing people say, I want to homeschool, but I'm not sure about how you're going to get the socialization. Now, there's a difference between socializing and socialization, right? Socializing you can get by just talking to folks, right? And socialize, you can socialize at the park, you can socialize on the football team or in the chess club that they're in. They can socialize with other children. They might have friends around the neighborhood that they can socialize with, right? And in fact, there's not much socializing going on in the public school system because when you're in the class, you got to be quiet and you got to listen and you got to, do work. And sometimes some schools have a quiet lunch. You can't even talk at lunch. And then you might go out for recess. You got 20 minutes, 30 minutes at recess, and maybe you can talk then, but they're trying to keep you down even though you're outside. So you don't get much socializing in that school anyway, right? But the difference is that socialization is like basically to make someone applicable or compatible with the standards of a particular society. And if that is the case for us in the United States of America, we know that they're trying to make us socialize in a certain way to be educated servants of them. So I don't want my children to have socialization anyway. I want them to have civilization. I want them to have Africanization. I want them to be imbued with the kind of African values that I want them to have so they can be the warriors that we need them to be, right? You think about the kind of socialization that they get at the school system. Everything is about Europeans. They've done everything. That's a value that they're learning. It doesn't matter what you were learning. As soon as that bell rings, it's time to do something else, right? They're being socialized to learn that standardized tests means everything. Critical thinking means nothing. Regurgitate. They're learning those things. They're being socialized with those values at those public school systems, right? So socializing, they can get that. In fact, homeschool children really socialize with people of many different ages throughout the day. When the school system, the public school system, is actually a weird, unnatural kind of thing. Because when is the last time, if you're older, right? When's the last time you were around 30 other people that was all your same age? You know what I'm saying? Like that whole factory model of education is unnatural, right? You're not going to be around everybody who's 11 anymore, right? So homeschoolers actually socialize a lot better than folks who are in public schools. Now, we're not talking about, those folks who just keep their children inside all day, right? Now, that's a different kind of thing. And I think that is the mythology of socialization. We had these white folks, who had like this code or something. They was always inside. They had long hair. They made their own clothes. We should make our own clothes too. But anyway, so we're not talking about that. What we're talking about socializing, getting out and talking with folks, and also the socialization or the Africanization of our children when they're getting the values that we want them to have and not the values these Europeans are pushing into our children. The values of conformity, the values of materialism, the values of individualism. We don't want those things. We want Africanization, right? Moving on. Hopefully this is good. Let's talk about a basic day real quick. So at Kamali Academy, our basic day will be, of course, children will have breakfast before they come. Then it will come, we'll have our morning ritual, our morning meeting. So, and that morning meeting would consist of a libation. We definitely got to pour a libation to our ancestors. Got to start the day with that, right? And our ancestors and the Creator, and just so they can be with us and rock with us on our daily journey. Sometimes we do light exercises or a little bit of stretching. You might even want to put yoga in there. You might even want to put meditation, just to get started. So you do breakfast, do your morning meeting. You might even want to do chores. Say, all right, we're going to get up, do our breakfast, we do the chores. Now we come on down and we get to work, right? You might even want to have reading time early. So we get 30 minutes of reading before we do anything else. We eat lunch, we eat breakfast, we read, and we go on, right? So after that, we would do our classes, our so-called academic classes until about lunch. After lunch, we would, if we still had some work that we needed to do, we'd do the work, or every day, we would go outside or we would do some kind of arts and crafts or physical activity so that our children can continue to get that. So that would be a basic day. So again, breakfast, and you have your morning ritual, whatever that morning ritual is for you, it might be, all right, and then you will have your classes until lunch. You have lunch, and then you do whatever you want to do after lunch. It might be going to a museum, going on a field trip, whatever that is, right? It might be just a child saying, look, you might just have them read, or the child says, I want to learn about such and such. You have them have that so-called free time to learn about whatever they want to learn about, right? So that's a basic day that you can have during when you're homeschooling. Also, make sure, again, that you have that one-on-one time with your children if they need it. As a child gets older and older, you want to make sure that really about the 5th grade, that they can be as independent as possible in terms of their learning. Because, of course, the best learning, the best kind of education is the education you give yourself. And we want to make sure that our children are able to persist at things. So let's say they get it wrong the first time. We want them to see if they can find the right answer and get it right and understand why it was wrong in the beginning, right? Because that's the way we learn as adults, right? When we want to learn about something, sometimes we'll stay up all night, learn about it, and we'll get it. And even though we'll make mistakes, we'll come back and make sure we get it. So we want to make sure our children are able to do that as well and give them that independence. Sometimes we don't believe that they have it. Try them, right? Let them do their thing. And you can have it on a trial basis. Like, look, this is what you have to do for the day. You go ahead on and do that. Now, I'm going to check on you. If you are not doing what you're supposed to do, then I'm going to be on top of you again, right? And when most children, when you allow them to have that freedom and that authority over their own time and how they do their work, then they don't want that freedom to be taken away. So most of them will do what they have to do, and you can check over their work after and whatnot, or discuss what they've read and what they've been doing, and that'll work out. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So let's review real quick. Let's review. Number 1, we create a vision. We create a mission statement for our homeschooling. We create an understanding of where we're trying to go with this homeschool thing. We don't just want to just be just out there. And we also don't want to just have the idea that we just want our children to get fixed, right, in our homeschool so we can send them right back to the place that broke them in the first place. That's heartbreaking. So let's make sure we have an African-centered vision for where we want our children to go and where we want our homeschooling cooperative or homeschool to be about, right? Also, review the state laws. Check out the state laws. As I said, the website is hslda.org. Again, hslda.org. Check your state's homeschooling laws to see what you have to do there. Also, make sure you choose a curriculum that vibes with your vision. So you can't have an African-centered vision and then choose a Eurocentric curriculum, because that ain't gonna work. All right, I tried it. It doesn't work. Okay, all right. Allow time also to detox. Allow time for your child to de-school, to get away from the old notions of education, the toxic notions, the miseducation that they've been getting. Allow them time to just chill and learn about what they want to learn about and lead the interaction for a little bit. And also that allows you time to research the state laws, to research the curriculum, to see where you really want to go with this thing. It's all right. Education will happen. Our children are learning every day, right? They're learning every day. Again, make sure that you understand that you are the curriculum as well. So it doesn't matter what paper curriculum you get, what online curriculum you get, our children is watching. They are watching you. They're doing a very poor job of listening to what we say, and a very good job of watching what we do. So make sure you are, proving yourself to be a good example for our children, because that hidden curriculum, that covert curriculum, is more powerful than any other curriculum that you can have, right? Also, speak their love language, personal touch, quality time, words of affirmations, gifts, and acts of service. Find out what their love language is. Look it up online. Look up the survey. Have them take it. You can take it yourself. You and your spouse, or you and your African complement can do that as well. So y'all can learn better how to love each other, and we can learn better how to love our children and reward them in a way and love them in a way that they need to be loved, right? Also, we got to win with them in certain ways. Make sure we have a good relationship with our children, because children don't learn much from people they don't like or respect, right? We don't have to be their friend, but we definitely want to have a good relationship with our children. All right. Also, remember that the world is our classroom. Don't you stay inside all doggone day and recreate the Eurocentric school system as it is, right? We want to make sure that we get out and see the world. African people read the book of life, right? They didn't need physical books. They read the book of life and learned so much. Our ancestors, right? So the world can be our classroom at this moment as well, right? Also, when you're teaching multiple ages, reading and math on their own level, their own little books and all that kind of stuff, right? But everything else we can learn together. And so just on their own level, okay? And also, we don't need socialization. We need Africanization. We need our children to be the warriors that we need them to be to solve the kind of problems that we have. I hope this has helped you in beginning your homeschool journey. There's a whole bunch more I could say. If you want any of our resources, I think they might be valuable. You can go to store.kamaliacademy.com. That's store.kamaliacademy.com. Also, this particular lecture is a part of my Warrior Teacher course. It's a 10-week course that teaches African parents just like yourself how to be warrior teachers of your children. We go in a lot more detail, a lot more in-depth study of these things. I'm sure some of you out there already know that and already have it and have been benefiting from that. You can go to thewarriorteacher.com to check that out. All right. Revolutionary love to you all. Now, I want to take some questions. All right. So let me check hopefully you put your questions on the page in the Facebook area here. Let's see. Thank you, brother, for sharing the well. All right. Thank you. All right. So I see a question here real quick. It says, what about children in preschool? My boys are 1 and 2. I want to start early. All right. So if you have children that are in preschool, I would say, especially 1 or 2, keep things as natural as possible, right? Talk to them. Speak to them, of course, in good English, right? Speak to them in African languages as well, right? But talk. Explain what you're doing while you're doing it, right? So mama is putting the spaghetti into the pot, and we're going to boil it for 8 minutes until it is soft, and then we're going to whatever. Just like talk to them as much as possible. Also read to them as much as possible, right? Children, like, fill our children's minds with African love stories, African stories of creation, and all those kind of things. Fill their minds with those things. Also, point out letters around in the world, right? Begin to teach them the letters, teach them numbers, right? Count things, play hide and seek, play peekaboo, count, up until 10 or whatever, and then show your face, right? No Leeway at 2 was able to count in 3 different languages, in Tree, in Swahili, and of course English. She was able to go up to 20 when she was, very early in her 2 years, and now she can go up to about 100 in English and still about 20 in Swahili and 10 in Tree. Right. So just make it natural. I wouldn't try to sit them down and try to do any workbooks and all that kind of stuff. There's a good app called Letter School on iOS. And so I don't know if it's on Android, but check it out. Letter School is a great app for children to learn how to write their letters as well as their numbers. So check it out. Just keep things very, very natural when you're talking about the preschool piece. We don't want our children going to learn so much. Read to them, talk to them, and again, be the curriculum. How do you talk to them? How do you talk to other people? No Leeway calls everybody an African because I call everybody an African, right? And when she sees me, she say, "What's up, brother?" Say, "What's up, Baba?" and all that kind of stuff. So just be the example, and they'll learn a great deal. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, so hopefully some of the people were saying that it refreshed say it wasn't working, but hopefully you got back on there. All right, let's see. Oh man, I hope people okay, yeah, just probably have to refresh it. That's it. So somebody said they got audio but no visual. I mean, they got audio but no video. That was a while ago, so probably got it together. Let's see here. Okay, all right. Hold on, we got a bunch of stuff coming in here. All right. Yes, I will be at the Liberated Minds Homeschool Black Homeschooling Expo this weekend in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'll be speaking on homeschooling 101. So some of the stuff that I talked about today, I will repeat there. Also about how to start your own homeschool, and my other workshop will be on creating powerful readers and writers from an African-centered perspective. Creating powerful readers and writers from an African-centered perspective. So yes, I'll be there. You should be there as well. Queen Thais and Liberated Minds Expo. Look, check the website, liberatedmindsexpo.com. Liberated Minds with an S. Expo.com is a great conference that I've gone to for the last 3 years. Beautiful people, beautiful times. It's a good time to network with other folks across the country who feel the same way you feel about the education of their children. It's just a beautiful event, man. I can't wait. Let's see. I see a question that says, how to encourage warriors to be more sociable if they're more introverted? That's a great question. We've had some students like that, and we found that they've come out of their shell when they got around other people who were very interested in what they were interested in, right? And so one student, he didn't like to play basketball, right? And so most of the other students, they like to play basketball. So he didn't really talk as much when they went to go play basketball. But when it was time to talk about Minecraft, the brother just came out of his shell because that was something he was more interested in. And sometimes we might have to just groom our young warriors to be a little bit more sociable. But of course, there's power in being an introvert. They're probably, African wisdom teaches us that he who talks thinks, but he who doesn't talk thinks more, right? So maybe they'll do more writing. Again, get to know them, see what they like to do, maybe put them in a situation where they're around other people who like what they like, and maybe we'll see something different. Not sure. All right. How do you maintain patience while teaching at home? How do you maintain patience? Patience is not like something that just comes when you're teaching. It just, some people, I don't have the patience. Well, I probably don't have the patience either. It's something that is certainly developed, but you also, when do we lose patience? I think that's a better question. When do we lose patience? We probably lose patience when, or let me say, I would lose patience most when I first got started teaching, when I was teaching a child something and I felt like, why the hell are you not getting this? you got to get this, right? And they just wouldn't be getting it, right? And maybe I get frustrated then. And what I realized is that there's something called the curse of knowledge. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but sometimes when we have known something for so long, we sometimes forget how it feels to be a beginner. We forget how it feels to not know this. And so whether it's so easy in our mind, it's not so easy for them. So we have to realize that they don't know what we know. They haven't had the experiences that we've had. So we have to just find the patient somewhere to understand that and allow them their time. And sometimes we lose our patients when we're trying to teach our young warriors something that they're not developmentally ready to learn yet. Right? Again, when you're going by somebody else's curriculum, that curriculum is not made for our particular children. It's not made for any particular children. It's a general curriculum. It's a standard. Whose standard is it in the first place? It's not our standards, right? So sometimes the standard might be something. It's like the math book says, learn this right now. It might not be the time for our children to learn that. Our children are different. I mean, some children will read, at 3, 4. Some children won't get it until they're 9, but they'll get it. Some children will like really blaze with their multiplication tables, when they're 5 or 6. Some people won't get it. Some of our young warriors won't get it until they're 8, 9, or 10. Right? When we have to understand that some children are just different. We are different. All of us are different. I have many skills out, at the age of 33 that many of you don't have. And many of you have many skills at much younger ages than I am, right? That I don't have, right? But I can't be frustrated because I don't have those, and you can't be frustrated that you don't have what I have. We are different, right? And we must take that into consideration when we're teaching our young warriors. All right? Let's see what else we got. What age should I start a curriculum? My daughter is 2 and can spell her name. Again, keep it as natural as possible. Listen to a lot of ABC rap songs on YouTube. She got the first name. Let's do the last name. Let's learn your name, right, as well. Again, keep it as natural as possible. The world is our classroom. It doesn't have to be anything that's like really set in stone. At Kamali, though, we have an online curriculum that might be good. It goes from pre-K to 3rd grade. At this moment, we'll have pre-K through 8th grade next month in August. So you might want to check that out on our website. You can go to kamaliacademy.com and look at that curriculum to see if that might be good for her starting at 2. I mean, we do all that stuff with no leeway as well. We just understand that, she probably going to be doing these things again when she turns 3, when she turns 4, and all those kind of things, just to make sure. Just to make sure she has it. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Any other questions? All right. Let me refresh again. See if we have any more questions here. Okay, so we have a question just a minute ago. How would you suggest going about starting a homeschool co-op? Are you in Atlanta? Come through. We're going to talk about it this weekend at the conference. But very basically, I would again start with a vision of what you want it to be about. Look for some like-minded folks. You might even want to have a packet so people can understand what perspective you're coming from. Because a lot of people, most co-ops I've seen are coming from a Christian perspective or something like that. So if that's not what you're on, you want to make sure that other folks know that, that's not what you're on. And so they know what they're getting into. Develop some classes, find some people who can teach those classes, find a location where you can meet, get it started. That simple. And of course, again, at the beginning, you want to think about how often do you want to meet. Some co-ops meet once a week. Some co-ops meet every day. Some co-ops meet once a month. Some co-ops just meet for field trips. Some co-ops just meet for special class here and there. So just think about, what you want to do. And again, I'm going to talk about that more in depth this weekend in Atlanta for the Liberated Minds Homeschool Expo. So we have a question. Our story is just learning about our people in history. Question: do you have a list of books to work from for our story or history? Absolutely. We have a book called "The 50 Africans You Must Know" on our website, store.kamaliacademy.com, and that is the basis of our story curriculum for really preschool through the third grade. And so we deal with the people, and we deal with their life and times. So if we're dealing with Ida B. Wells, we're dealing with her writing, her journalism career, but also we're talking about lynching. We're talking about the early 1900s, which was going on with Black people. We're talking about the first Great Migration and all those kind of things as well. So yes, we use 50 Africans You Must Know reading comprehension book for our young warriors in terms of our story. Okay. Let's see. So we take a couple more. See, we got 4 minutes left. What about confronting those that question your lesson? Teaching Black pride and love. What about confronting those that question your lesson? I'm not sure. I mean, are you talking about the people? You talking about the students questioning your lesson, or are you talking about other folks who are saying, I don't know if you should be teaching that? I'm not sure what the question is asking, but teaching Black pride and love. I think we teach Black pride and love, number one, by teaching our children who they are. You really can't love something or take pride in something if you don't know that's something. One of the things I hear so often is that, I'm talking about this African-centered education, or I'm teaching on a college level, and African-American history or African history. Students always say, like, how I never learned these things. How am I to take pride in the fact that our people gave the world, language with the Metu Neter or the hieroglyphics when I just didn't know it? How am I to know? How am I to take pride in something and love, our people when all I've heard is that we were slaves, and that we marched and Martin Luther King got us free or something. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's probably number one, to teach them who they are, right? And also I think we have to do a better job of dealing with the media as it is and dissecting and helping our children think critically about the things that they see. So, I mean, if our children are seeing, the standard of beauty being Europeans all the time, we got to have some conversations about that. Also, we might have to, kind of shield some of that garbage away from our children and show them more African people who love themselves for who they are and have pride. Because maybe they haven't seen too many Black people have pride in who they are. Maybe in the public school system, you definitely ain't seeing it too much. On the television, you're not seeing it too much. In the music they listen to, you're not seeing it too much. So we have to do a better job of putting those images in front of them and also just teaching them who they are so that they can know what to have pride in. Okay? All right. Economic aspects of homeschooling, are there tax breaks, subsidies, etc., to offset costs? I'm not sure about the tax breaks, you know what? There is some tax breaks for homeschooling. But you might have to check that out. You got to, do your own research on that one to offset costs. I'm not really sure on those things. Not really sure on those things. All right. Let's see. Question is, do you do lesson plans? If so, do you plan the day, night, before, weekend, before for the week? I don't really do lesson plans as such because we have our curriculum and I know I've already planned, right, long beforehand what we're going to be doing. But I also leave ample time and space to be creative and to take those teachable lessons to another level, right? It just depends on you. I would say try to get as much planning done early on, like before you get started. Let's say plan 10 weeks out, maybe 4 weeks, whatever, so you're not always scrambling to figure out, oh man, what the weekend and done gone by. We done did so much this weekend. What are we gonna do this week? Right. And so that might not be good. So I'll say plan as much as you can, but also stay flexible, and be willing to say, look, this lesson plan ain't working. We gotta do something different. right? And so always be flexible enough, but you definitely want to have maybe a foundation, a plan. And say, okay, this is what we're going to learn this week. This is what we're going to learn next week, whatever, and go from there. All right. Let's see. I'll take, let's say one more. Let me see. Okay, no question there, but I'm glad this has helped you out, Sister Cassie. All right, yeah, and she was talking about she gave her third grade daughter a little more responsibility about what to learn, right? And she was saying that maybe a third grader is not really ready to have that kind of responsibility, just yet, and that's fine too. But look at some of the things she just likes doing and maybe try to incorporate those things into the curriculum and see how you can put in some, what do you call that, academic work into those things that she likes, right? And let's see. I guess, let me refresh and we will end this thing. Oh, we got a whole bunch of questions now. Let's see. So we have a person who has a homeschooler who is, well, a high schooler who is in 11th grade. Do I think it'll be effective at this stage in life for the I guess the child to start homeschooling? I would say yes. I mean, we had one student who started with us in the 11th grade, and he came to us having made a lot of A's at the school he was at, but he could barely read. You know, but so when he got there to us, we made sure that we stopped, made sure he had the things, the foundation that he needed before we can really move on. And he loved video games, so we taught him everything he needed to know through his love of video games. And our brother is going to college and he's doing pretty good for himself. But it was amazing that he could come from the public school system making very good grades, A's and B's, and come to us not really being able to read, because the people are just passing our children on, right? It's like we got to save our children. You got to stop sending them to our enemy, because those 2 years, he might not even make it out if he's doing, doing bad in that particular situation, as most of our children are, right? Even if they're getting good grades, what kind of Eurocentric nonsense are they imbibing from these folks? So definitely, I think it's a good idea, because learning doesn't stop anyway, right? Is it going to stop when he makes 18, when he makes 17, when he's 12th grade? Is it? No. We want to, at any point, take our children out, make sure they get what they need to know, make sure they get the critical thinking skills that they need, make sure they get the writing and reading skills that they need so that they can be successful in life. Make sure they get the knowledge of self that they need. And they're not going to get that at the school system. So yes, take them on out of there. Don't send them back. All right. Let's see. I think I dealt with the question of dealing with the teaching multiple ages. All right. Our handwriting workbook doesn't do cursive at this moment, and you can get that at store.kamaliacademy.com, but we will have one that'll do cursive soon. All right. So I think that's about it. We got some other stuff here. Let's see. I think we'll stop it there, right? This will be available. Of course, it's being recorded, so you'll be able to check it out at a later date. Also, I just want to say again, revolutionary love to you all for being on this webinar with me. Hopefully, it has served you. I am going to be doing one-on-one coaching with folks, so look for an email about that if you will be interested in having one-on-one coaching with me, so I can help you along your journey of education. Just, again, be the guide at your side and making sure we give our children an education for liberation. Revolutionary love. See you next time.